Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I'd like to welcome you to this month's Stop the Busyness webinar. The Stop the Busyness webinar is a monthly webinar that we put on here at Simpletivity, where we select one or a couple of productivity topics and share those ideas, share some solutions with you. And today's topic is all about habits, in particular, some real easy habits. I'm going to share with you 5 super easy habits to boost your productivity. See if you can make some small changes in your workday that will result in some pretty big impacts, some pretty big outputs at the end of the day. Some of the things that we will be covering today, some of the things that you will learn, how those small changes can lead to such big outcomes. I'm sure you've had many experiences in your life where you've made just a small tweak, just a small adjustment, and it's led to a great solution or a great change in your life. We're going to learn how we can make our mornings more productive, regardless if you're an early bird or if you're a night owl. How can we make those first few hours that much more useful, that much more efficient as a part of our day? I'm going to share with you one special item that I always pack with me, and I encourage everyone to pack with them, regardless if they're traveling just to their local office or if they're traveling abroad. So stay tuned for that secret item as a part of today's broadcast. And we're also going to look at meetings, which seem to be such a major time suck for so many of us, not just the amount of meetings that we are involved in on a day-to-day basis, but how can we prevent those meetings from going overtime and then bleeding into the next one and then bleeding into the next one. So regardless if you're the organizer of a meeting or if you're just a participant, I'm going to give you a tip on how you can make those meetings end on time. My name is Scott Friesen, and I'm the founder of Simpletivity Training. I refer to myself as a busyness killer. What exactly is a busyness killer? Well, it pains me to hear people complain about how busy they are. And when I first meet someone, I usually ask them, how are things going at work? And without fail, the most common answer is, I'm just so busy, or I'm just too busy. And this really pains me. It saddens me because I know that there's a very significant difference between being busy and being productive. You see, you don't need an education or experience to be busy. Anyone can be busy. Anyone can lose themselves in their email inbox all day long. But to be productive, it takes a certain amount of discipline. It takes a certain amount of focus to be a productive employee, a productive manager, just a productive person all around. So as a busyness killer, I try to help teams and individuals be more productive instead of just being busy. As always, I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions throughout today's webinar, I'd encourage you to ask them. If you're watching this live, you can use the live chat feature here on YouTube, or you can also use the Stop the Busy hashtag on Twitter. If you're watching a recording of this version, I'd encourage you to still use that hashtag, Stop the Busy, and I'll be sure to find it and try and answer your question at a later date. I'll reserve a bit of time at the end of today's session to try and answer as many questions as possible. So feel free to ask throughout the webinar. So today is all about habits. Our lives are made up of habits, both good and bad habits. And really, it's habits that dictate how successful or how productive we are going to be. I wanted to start off by getting you to think of some of the most simple habits in your life. So simple that you probably don't even think about them anymore. I've got a picture here of a coffee cup or maybe a cup of tea on a desk beside a wrinkled up comforter or sheet on a bed in a bedroom here. I want you to think for a moment about your morning routine, some of your morning habits. think about some of the activities that you do first in, that first 30 minutes or first 45 minutes of your day. I've got a few examples shown here on the screen, and I imagine for most of us, we're doing at least 4 or 5 of these each and every morning. However, the order in which we do them are probably quite different. We're all individuals. We all have a different perspective on the world, and we all have a slightly different morning routine. But I will bet as you start to rank or order the list of items on this page, you'll recognize that you don't put any thought or hardly any thought into what order these go in on a daily basis. No, it's natural. You have developed a very natural habit that you don't need to think of anymore. You don't wake up at the side of your bed and say, shave or shower. I better flip a coin here because I'm just not sure which one I want to do first. No, probably 9 mornings out of 10, you are following the exact same order again and again and again. And as a result, it's made you more productive. You don't want to put extra thought or extra thinking into such mundane tasks. You have found an order, you have found a habit that has worked the best for you. Well, today, I want to share with you 5 real easy ones, things that you can start to implement right now to make you a more productive professional. The first habit starts the night before, and this has to do with our tasks or our to-dos. Now, we all have them. We all have some type of to-do list. I don't mean that you necessarily manage your to-dos on your smartphone. I don't necessarily mean that you manage your to-dos in a notebook or a journal. I don't necessarily mean that you manage your to-dos on your calendar. But even if you do use those tools or a combination thereof, or you don't use any of them, you still have a task list. It just may appear or it may reside in your mind. We're all working from some type of short list of things to do, things that we need to accomplish. Well, when it comes to being the most productive in your day, I don't want you to be thinking about what you should be doing in the morning. I want you to be executing. I want you to be doing that thing that is most important or most valuable to you. So this first simple habit involves taking just a few minutes the night before, quickly reviewing your calendar, maybe quickly reviewing your to-do list if you work off of a list, and then selecting the one most important task, the first thing that you're going to jump into in the morning. You see, too many of us start our mornings something like this. We get into the office or we sit down at our desk, we browse a few social media sites, or we jump right into our inbox. Maybe we grab something to drink or a light snack. We start talking with a coworker, some small talk before we jump into the day. And before you know it, 45 minutes have gone by and we haven't even started that most important task. And then we get pulled into an emergency meeting. And suddenly what was most important, what would really bring a lot of value to your team or to your organization has been deferred to much later in the day, maybe even deferred for another entire day. So again, I don't want you to start your day thinking about doing. I want you to start your day doing. So take just a few minutes, just 5 minutes is all you need to plan the first thing that you're going to jump into tomorrow morning. Select your most important task the day before. Now, in terms of a specific time, this doesn't have to happen just before bedtime. You can do this near the end of your workday. If you leave your office at around 5 in the afternoon, just reserve a few minutes at the end of your workday and select that most important task. Habit number 2, super easy habit number 2. It relates to habit number 1, is never check email during your first hour. I hope you can agree with me that you have more important projects, you have more important tasks than email. You have more important things to do than jumping into your inbox. And so I want you to let your inbox sleep in. Ignore it for the first 60 minutes. Now, I want you to use this time in any way that you think would be more valuable than responding or replying to email. Here's the issue with starting your day with email. Too many of us view our inbox as a sort of to-do list. You believe that your inbox is a to-do list, you're working in a very reactionary mode. You're just reacting to crises, emergencies, requests from other people. You're putting their work, in many cases, ahead of your own. I want you to reserve that time. I want to make sure that you are working on habit number one, on that most important project or that most valuable task, instead of getting lost in email during your first hour. I don't want your inbox to distract you any more than it's going to throughout the rest of your day. So start with a distraction-free environment and start your day on your terms. Don't start in your inbox. Let your inbox sleep in. And if you don't want to use it for your most important work, you can also use it for personal development. Too many of us complain that we don't have enough time to read, that we don't have enough time to exercise. Maybe you want to start journaling. Maybe you want to start adding meditation or some other personal development exercise into your daily routine. Well, this can be a great way to stay on track and develop other good habits by letting your inbox sleep in. So stop checking your email during the very first hour of your day. Habit number three, they're sort of building on one another. This one is most closely related to email, and that is to turn off your badge notifications. Now, some of you may be asking, what exactly is a badge notification? Well, I want you to take a good look at the image you see on your screen here. And I want you to let me know if this looks familiar as you look down at your smartphone or as you look down at your iPad or your tablet. Do you have apps that have a little red circle or some other indicator with a number beside it? These are what are referred to as badge notifications, and they can be extremely distracting. They can pull you away from your more important work routinely throughout the day. Now, the intention, the purpose of these notifications, they really are coming from a good place. The idea is to let you know of things that you might be concerned about. Hey, I just want to let you know that you have 23 unread emails right now. If it's a social media app, maybe it's telling you that you have so many pending invitations waiting for you. If it's a calendar app, perhaps it's telling you that you have 3 meetings today. However, if you listen to those 3 examples that I just gave you, is that really helping you to see this number and how many pending invitations, how many upcoming meetings, how many unread emails are on their way? We get email around the clock. I don't think 15 minutes go by where I don't receive a new email, and in most cases, you probably don't receive a new email as well. However, these little badge notifications tempt us. They draw us away from the initial purpose that we came to our mobile device, and so we click on them more often than we need to. Well, you can turn them off. You don't need to see a screen full of red badges. In this particular screenshot, you can see the mail client at the bottom has a red badge right now. I may not have opened up my device to look at email. Maybe there was some other activity that I needed to do, but that little red badge is just taunting me, saying, look at me, hey, click on me, I've got something to show you here. Turn off your badge notifications and you'll stop permitting your apps to pull you away from your most important work. Now, there's maybe 1 or 2 apps that you would like to remain to leave that notification on. I'll give you an example from my own work life. The text app on my phone is the only one currently that I allow badge notifications to be turned on. Because if I'm in a meeting and I have my phone on mute, or maybe I just didn't hear the text notification, I do want to know if I'm missing out on some recent texts. I do this because I know that people who are trying to contact me via texting probably know me quite well probably are people that are fairly close to me. And so I do want to know if I've missed something from a text message. But when it comes to email, I don't need to know how many unread messages are waiting there. I know there's always going to be 10 to a dozen unread messages in my inbox. I don't need a red number to tell me otherwise. So if you would like to learn the specifics of how to turn off your badge notifications, I would recommend that you check out this Simpletivity video on how to do so. We show you a step-by-step guide on how to turn off those notifications, particularly if you own an iPhone or iPad device. You have enough distractions today. Your phone does not need to be just another one. Don't make it dictate where your attention goes today. Turn off your badge notifications. That brings us to easy habit number 4, and this is in regards to meetings. This habit may seem like something more difficult to implement, but it's actually much easier than first meets the eye. My suggestion is to use a countdown to end meetings on time. A countdown as such as a timer, whether it's your smartphone or perhaps whether you download something on your laptop. Use a timer to give you a warning and possibly give your participants a warning that there's only 5 minutes left in a meeting. If this sounds familiar, you start your meeting, things are going well, you're discussing a number of topics, you seem to be solving a number of issues, and then before you know it, it's the top of the hour. Your meeting time is up. And not only do you need to get to another meeting or another commitment, but so do the rest of your participants. Or even if that's not the case, if you work in an office environment, maybe someone is giving you a glare through the glass pane window or knocking on the door because they've booked that meeting room coming up. I want you to use a countdown timer so you can stay on topic, but also to make sure that you end that meeting and give yourself and other team members adequate time to move on to the next meeting. Now, like I said, you can use your smartphone. We all have a timer already built into our smartphone. You can set a silent timer, so you don't have to have some type of annoying noise or ringtone that goes off. You can simply have a screen that maybe flashes a different color or notifies you when there's 5 minutes left. You can download a number of desktop timers, things that just sit on your laptop so that something can go off, something can warn you, a pop-up can come up on your screen letting you know that there's 5 minutes left. And when that shows up, this gives you the signal that to start wrapping up the conversation. It's time to start thinking about action items. Who's got what? Do we need to reschedule another meeting? Let's make sure that we end on a good note, on a proper note, instead of rushing away. So don't let meetings get away from you. Using a countdown timer can help you stay on topic and manage your time and the time of others that much better. Study after study shows that we tend to fill the amount of time that we've been given. Therefore, if you've scheduled a 1-hour meeting, more often than not, that meeting will go the entire hour, even though it probably could have been completed in 40 or 45 minutes. We tend to fill the amount of time that we book. So the next time you start a meeting, use your smartphone, or you can try out a desktop timer and set it for the length of the meeting minus maybe 5 or 7 minutes. And when that alarm goes off or when that notifies you, you can start wrapping up the discussion, start wrapping up that meeting. Even if you're not the organizer, even if you're not the leader of the meeting, you don't have to let everyone know that there's 5 minutes left. But if your silent alarm on your smartphone goes off, you can start to lead the discussion in that direction. I've done this for many years in a variety of different roles where I've set a timer, and even though I wasn't the one who organized the meeting or led the discussion, I was able to transition the discussion into a wrap-up mode, transition it into next action items and assigning tasks to people in the room. So use a countdown timer, make sure that you can help your team and your work be that much more efficient. Habit I have for you today is very, very easy, but it may in fact be one of the most powerful on today's list of habits, and that is to pack an energy bar with you wherever you go. Now, energy bars come in a variety of different flavors, shapes, and colors. If you're an athlete, you're probably very familiar with energy bars and giving you a boost either before or post a workout. But energy bars have really come a long way in the last 5 to 10 years, and any flavor that you would like, any consistency that you would like is really available on the market. So why would I suggest that you pack an energy bar wherever you go? Well, we try to eat healthy. We want to eat healthy throughout our day because your physical health and your mental health have a direct correlation with how productive you're going to be today. If you're not eating right, if you skip breakfast, or if you have to skip lunch because of a crisis or because of an emergency meeting, you may not have the energy to push through that day, to give your best or to give your best input. By packing an energy bar in your bag, your briefcase, your purse, whatever it is you use to travel, you can ensure that you have about 200 to 250 calories to keep you going throughout the day. Now, energy bars are so convenient to pack, right? You can slip them into any type of bag or travel case that you may be carrying with you. And of course, you can eat them in a pinch. You don't need a fork, a knife, a spoon, a straw. You don't need any utensils to eat it. And it gives a really big, powerful punch. Again, most of them in the 200 to 250 calorie range. Now, that's not going to replace a full meal. But if you have to skip lunch today, if you're not able to run out to the restaurant or order in we know it's going to be bad takeout anyhow, right? You have got a backup plan. You have got something that you can eat and power you through the next 3 hours. Now, I pack this with me regardless of where I'm going, especially if I'm on business travel, because I'm in a city that I may not know very well, or I may be in an area that I may not know very well. And I don't know if I can grab a quick snack or if I can grab a healthy meal before my presentation or before an important meeting. I always know I have something with me so that I can have that fuel to get me through the day. But even if you just work in a local office, even if you're just working in the same location, you've got a short 5 or 10 minute commute each and every day, I still recommend packing an energy bar with you each and every day. Our days are dynamic. Our days change very, very quickly. And suddenly you're working much later than you initially thought. Suddenly you have to cancel your lunch appointment with someone else because another crisis or another emergency has popped up into your plate. So be sure to not ignore your health, both your physical and mental health, and give you the fuel that you need to succeed. When you have an energy bar in your backpack, in your briefcase, whatever it is that you bring to work, you will make sure that you have that energy to push you through the rest of the day. So, 5 super easy habits that you can start today. You can start right now. You don't need to set a 21-day goal. You don't need to tell all your friends and family what you're doing to keep this commitment. No, they're relatively simple. Number 1, select your most important tasks the day before. So when you start tomorrow morning, you can jump right into that task. You don't have to strategize. You don't have to think about what's most important. You can jump right into execution mode. Number 2, never check email during your first hour. Let your inbox sleep in for the first 60 minutes. You can either jump right into that most important task, or you can use that time to maybe read up on your industry. Maybe you can do some personal development, fit in your exercise if you're having trouble fitting it in other parts of your day. Easy habit number 3, turn off your bad badge notifications on your smartphone, on your tablet, on your iPad. If you've got too many red circles, if you've got too many badges that are spitting out numbers that don't really mean much to you, turn them off. And that really goes for your desktop as well. If you're an Outlook user, you probably are very familiar with the desktop notifications that show up in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen for every single email that arrives. You can turn that off. Learn to turn it off and set rules so that, maybe you do appreciate those notifications for your boss's email, but not for everyone else. Turn off those badge notifications, reduce the amount of distractions in your workday. Number 4, use a countdown to end meetings on time. You don't have to announce it to everyone in the room. You can use your smartphone or your desktop to see how much time is left in that meeting and make sure that everyone stays on topic and on task. And lastly, don't leave home without it. Find an energy bar that you like, that you enjoy the taste, that you can rely on from time to time, and make sure that your bag has an energy bar packed so that you can be ready wherever you go. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Again, if you're watching the recorded version of this webinar, feel free to provide a comment below here on YouTube, or you can use the hashtag #StopTheBusy on Twitter. I've got here's a few early questions to get going. First one here says, when you say never check email in the first hour, do you mean when you wake up or when you start work? It's a very good question. My main recommendation is the first hour that you wake up, that you reserve those first 60 minutes for something more special or more important than your inbox. It might just be some family time. If you're married or living with someone, if you have children, maybe it's just spending a few more quality minutes with those individuals. So really, my main request is to ignore email for the first 60 minutes that you're awake. Now, if you find it valuable to take a time out for the first hour of your work, in many cases, that might even be better, because now you can focus your attention on your big project or your most valuable task. So think about what's best for you, but start with the first 60 minutes of your morning. Another question here is, how do I get out of meetings on time, even if others in attendance are fine with going overtime? That's a great question. And yeah, you may be involved in a meeting where the others really don't mind going over an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but you've got another commitment or you've got another meeting to get to. Now, if you do have another meeting scheduled, it's pretty easy to say, well, listen, I've got to jump to this other call, or I've got to get to somewhere else in the building. I've got to join this other meeting. But you may not always have something on your calendar. Here's the key word I want you to keep in mind, and that is commitment. I want you to commit to yourself that you have more important work than meetings that go on and on and on. I use this term quite regularly, and I recommend that others use it more often. Sorry, I've got to leave right now. I've got another commitment. And that commitment may just be work at my desk, but it's important, it's valuable, and it's pushing my organization or my clients forward. So don't be afraid to use that term commitment if you need to excuse yourself, if you want to make sure that you can get out of a meeting on time and on with more important work. If you have any further questions, again, you can use the hashtag #StopTheBusy or leave a comment here on YouTube. My last question for you is this: do you or your team need to be more productive? If the answer is yes, I would encourage you to visit our website, Simpletivity.com. You can learn more about the services that we offer, a variety of workshops, speaking keynotes, training and coaching for both individuals and teams who need to be more productive. I'd also encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We release a new video each and every week to help you give some new tips and new techniques on how you can be more productive. I want to thank you so much for joining us here today, and I wish you the most productive day possible. Don't just be busy. Thanks so much, and hope to see you at our next Stop the Busyness webinar.